Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Happy FAZCAST. My name is Faz, and I'm here with Kira Buckland. Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So, just in case, just to make sure that I know who you are, we've met at MegaCon a couple of weeks ago, but just to make it a little bit easier for anyone else who may not know, could you explain a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind?
Sure. So I'm a voice actor. I've been doing this for about 20 years. I'm based in the LA industry area. I primarily work on anime, video games, mobile games, things like that. I've done like a little of everything over the years, but I would say most of what I do is like localization media. So anime, like video games that were originally recorded in another language, things like that. Also, please excuse my voice. I just got back from a really busy convention, so my voice is kind of shot. But yeah, some of the properties that I worked on that people might know are Demon Slayer. That's I would say by and large the one that people know the most. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is like my personal favorite. Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, Nier Automata, Pokemon Horizons, Guilty Gear Strive, just like Nikkei, tons and tons of stuff.
You go to a lot of conventions, so how does Manchester stack up compared to all of the other conventions you've been to?
So I was so excited to go because almost all the conventions I've done have been based in the US. I've been to like a few international conventions in my life. Most of them were in Canada, and I love going to Canada if I'm going to an international con, don't get me wrong, but there's just like something cool about going outside of North America specifically. So I had really wanted to go to some kind of convention in the UK especially, but basically like anywhere overseas. And I told my convention agents last year, I was like, if there's any way I can do international cons, I really want to. And they're like, well, we'll try. It's just they're a little bit hard to get into because everyone, all the actors want to go to these cons because everybody wants to like travel to a new place. So it's like it can be hard to get in as like a guest or exhibitor. But thankfully, one of them finally worked out, and I was really excited to go, and I got to pet cows.
You got to pet cows. Okay, I need to know more about the cows, if you don't mind. Where did you go to
Of
pet cows?
course. So I asked to come in a day early just so I could, see everything, especially if I was traveling that far. And one of the convention staffers told me, oh, there is a place with cows that you can go to. I think it was called Heaton Park, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yes. Heaton Park.
Yeah. And it was like a 30-minute train ride from the hotel. And I was just like, I was so excited because I went to at first they told me like, oh, I think the cows are in the petting zoo. So I went to the petting zoo and there were no cows. And I was like, oh no. But I'd seen like some cows far away in a field. So I was like, okay, maybe I just go back to the field and look at the cows far away and observe and take pictures of them. I just wish that I could pet them or they would come closer. And then by the time I went back to the cow field, people had bought like carrots and stuff for them.
Yeah.
And they were like holding them out. So all the cows started coming over and mooing. And I didn't have anything because, they'd bought them off site. So I didn't know like, oh yeah, people bring stuff to feed the cows or whatever. But the cows all came forward and I got to pet them. And I was so excited.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Wait, are cows your favorite animal? I know there's the VTuber aspect, but we'll get to that later.
I love cows and cats very much.
I'm glad that you were able to. Were you able to check out anything else in Manchester while you were out here or anywhere near the area?
I went to a few cute little coffee shops and I went shopping in the downtown area. At one point, I got a cool Green Day shirt because I only had like one day to really do anything. I didn't get to do too much, especially because the time difference was still messing me up. But yeah, it was just really cool getting to see. Oh, and I play Pokemon Go. I've been playing Go since launch.
Yeah.
So I got to catch some England exclusive Pokemon and I got a few extras. So I got to trade them for really good stuff back home because no one can get these Pokemon otherwise, except through trades.
Okay. So I might have to burst your bubble a little. A week earlier, there was the Pokemon Go truck that was doing the road trip around Europe, and they started in Manchester. It was such a shame that you weren't able to come a little bit earlier.
Oh,
It looks so cool. I will have to send you a picture of it just to show you
I
what
would
that whole
love
thing was.
that.
It's a big truck. They just outfitted like it's weird to say Pokemon doesn't normally do like full on like what's it called? They normally outfit a truck to look like something, right? This was built.
hmm
So they had the front look more
What?
like a thing, but the back truck part was custom, as far as I understand. And it was insane looking at the very least. So many people
That's
came
so
in.
cool.
Yeah. Who's your speaking of Pokemon? What's your favorite? Who is your favorite Pokemon? Since we're here,
Gyarados.
why? Ooh,
I think it's really cool. I've always just loved kind of like the mythical Chinese style dragons, and I don't know, like I don't know what about it appeals to because I have a lot of Pokemon that I like specifically. I mean, of course, I love like Sprigatito, Florigato, Meowscarada because I love cats, and also I voiced them in the English dub of the show. But I love, yeah. Dragonair is another one of my favorites
ooh, yeah.
because it's just really cute. Like it I mean, nothing against Dragon Knight, but I feel that like that should have been a different evolution line. Because you have Dratini, you have Dragonair. Obviously, Dragonair looks like it comes from Dratini.
Yeah.
But then what happened with Dragonite? Like I would just love some like, you know, I don't know, something that looks like it would naturally progress from Dratini and Dragonair, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Plus
Have
the
you?
Chinese pink. I love it. Oh, so cool.
No. So, what do you think of? Well, we're here now. I'm just gonna continue. What is? What do you think of the Mega Evolution for Dragon Knight? Then
Um, I have to look it up because I don't remember what the mega for that looks like. I don't know if it's come to go yet.
it's not come to go. Not as far as I'm aware, but they added his wings on top of his antennae, and it looks more like the Dragon Knight wings.
Oh, yeah, I just looked it up. Okay, I'd only seen this a couple times before. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Hmm?
I do
Oh,
like somebody kind of made like an edit where they made it the Dragonair kind of colors and that looks sort of cool. So, I
maybe
don't know. Yeah, like I can vibe with that.
maybe that could be the shiny version if there is, but I'm not too familiar with the shiny colors off the top of my head. So I'm assuming here that you played a lot of Pokemon stuff when you were younger. Yes, that's to say.
Not like as a kid because I didn't really like play a lot of games as a kid, but then a little bit later in life I got into playing the main series games. Pretty much played all of those, and back in my old hometown we had something called the Alaska Pokemon League,
Mhm.
and I used to be one of their gym leaders, which was pretty cool.
That's pretty intense. You know, we have a similar concept in the UK where at conventions you'll find people dressed up as their favorite Pokemon type and will act as gym leaders. I've seen that a few times at conventions. But I feel like being a gym leader is no slouch. I feel like you put in time.
I mean, yeah, it was, definitely it wasn't anything official. It was just kind of like a group of friends who played Pokemon, and we would meet at a local coffee shop and people could come. Usually it would just be each other, but we had like little badges that we'd give out if you could beat us.
What games? Speaking of things you grew up with, what did you play while you were growing up? What were your like special? What was your favorite types of games to play?
So I didn't really get into playing video games until I was a teenager because I just didn't have like much in the way of like consoles or TV. It's like
Yeah,
I grew up in a household that was very like use your imagination for things,
fair.
which I mean, as a creative person, that's fine in its own way, I guess.
Mm.
But I feel like I missed out a lot of like I didn't even see my favorite movie until I was grown up. Like what is now my favorite movie, right? So um I ended up like I think it was like when I was in high school, I got introduced to fighting games.
Mm.
And the first one that I played was Soul Calibur 2. And
Uh,
I really liked it. And I felt like, for someone who just picked it up at the time, that I was like fairly decent at it. Obviously not like, oh, I was like doing combos and all this kind of, but it was just like I was better than I thought I was for something that I had just picked up at the time. And so then working on the game years and years later, when they ended up needing a voice match for Talim, was just a dream, you know?
Did you main Talim or did you go with Ivy?
I mained Taki, actually.
Oh, Taki. Okay. Why Taki? I want to need a little thing because we always pick whenever we pick when I play a lot of fighting games too, and I grew up with a lot of. I was lucky to be able to have played like Tekken 1 way back in the day. So when I picked my favorite character, I just thought it was like the coolest character, the fastest character, that kind of thing. What kind of drew you to Talim, if you don't mind?
So it was kind of part of it. I was into like ninja stuff at the time because I was like your typical like nerdy like weeb, you know, who was like this was before it was like super cool to like anime and all that. So it was just kind of you were like weird if you liked that stuff or whatever. But I was like, oh, I think ninjas are cool and all that kind of stuff. And then I also just sort of gravitate, and even to this day, I'm like this kind of gravitated towards like fast rushdown characters because. And this is like my biggest flaw when I play fighting games is that I'm not patient most of the time. And so it's really, I mean, my friend actually made me main Zangief when I played Street Fighter because he was like, okay, you gotta like, it'll force you to be patient if you play grappler because you can't like rush down, you know, you have to like kind of wait for them to come to you and then you grab them or whatever. But yeah, I have kind of always gravitated towards characters where you could kind of like rush in and attack them really fast and do a lot of damage, but like little damage adding up.
Well, did you keep up with any of the fighting game stuff after that? So I know you're a fan of Soul Calibur now, but were you able to keep up any of the more professional or esports areas, or did you learn to play the game a lot more since then? You did mention Street Fighter just now, so.
Yeah, so I used to go to tournaments and stuff. I was never good enough to like place in a tournament, unfortunately, because it requires so much time and dedicate, you know, like
Of course.
I would see people in the communities I was in who would do it and they would just spend hours in training mode doing the same thing over and over again. And I like, you know, I was too impatient to do that. I was like, I want to just like fight against other people and stuff. But yeah, obviously I would lose to like the people who were really able to put in that dedication. I used to play like a lot of Guilty Gear Accent Core. So Guilty Gear was my favorite fighting game, and so working on that later was like a dream come true as the character that I mained and that I really like, that I cosplayed, that I really gravitated towards, you know. And then what else? I liked Melty Blood, which kind of has its own thing,
community.
you know. I always joke about like playing on a small CRT in the bathroom.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Did you play on stick or did you play on pad?
On stick. I have had a couple custom sticks over the years. My first one, which was like for the Xbox 360, it had, I mean, I kind of like designed the stuff for it myself, and it didn't look that good, but it was like this picture of Dizzy, and I like photoshopped it to be pink, and I put like stars on it and glitter and all this kind of stuff, you know, because I loved Dizzy even back then. This was like 2008 or 9. And then my current stick that I have now, which I got at Evo 2018, I'd voiced like a few different fighting game characters at that point. Like I had finally been in Street Fighter V, which was a really cool thing for me. I don't think I'd been in Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle yet.
You technically have been. You played I believe, at least.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I don't think I had recorded that at the time that I got the arcade stick. Yeah, I think it was like a little bit later, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe like the following year. I don't know, but I mean, I would love to be in like a Blaze Blue game proper someday if they start dubbing those again, because I like Central Fiction. But
shout out to
anyway,
Central Fiction, man.
Yeah,
shout out to Central Fiction. That's not this.
Put Honoka on my arcade stick though, because I was just like, okay, she was the first. It was from Dead or Alive, by the way. She was the first playable character that I ever voiced in a fighting game, so she was extremely special to me.
Ah, I see. By the way, your early arcade stick sounds like those old Pixo websites. I feel like that's where we're
It pretty
at.
much was that.
I mean, I feel like we need to bring that core back, honestly. I feel like we need it just to be absurd and oversaturated about everything.
Yeah, because everything these, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not this, it's not so much like this anymore, but for a while, the trend of everything being very like bare and neutral was kind of the thing.
Mm,
And I'm like, but no offense to anyone who likes that, but that's just never been my brand. Like my inspiration is David Bowie.
yeah.
Like I am very extra. So even all my like my website, my convention signage, my banners, all that kind of stuff, it's usually like pink, glittery, neon, all this kind of stuff. I always like have crazy wigs or dye my hair crazy colors. I do like really bold makeup. So I remember some years ago, another random voice actor gave me like this unsolicited critique on my website
Yeah.
and was like, I think it's way too colorful and you need to just make it like way more neutral and corporate and business. Like I'm like, bro, I voice anime. Like
You don't just voice anime. You're way cooler. You're Kira Buckland. You're like one of the coolest people on the internet. Honestly, honestly, you're part of the history. If without you, I don't think the internet would be the way it is right now. Honestly,
Oh,
and
but I mean, my point is like when you voice like if I were exclusively marketing myself for like I will narrate your corporate medical video training or something like okay, like maybe, but it's sort of like what we do, like the stuff we work on. It is bright and colorful and fun and I feel like there's no like in an age where they're like branding is so important, you should not be afraid to just be yourself with like your branding, your aesthetic, like I feel like yeah, I am, if you see like something that's very bare and neutral or whatever, that's not a representation of what you're going to get working with me, right? So, but if you see the pink blingy arcade stick, then that's a little more accurate.
I guess this is a good way to ask this now. So, like up and coming VAs, do you reckon that that's something they should do, or is it just your personal preference and that's it?
Well, I think it should be about what people individually gravitate to.
Mm.
Because obviously not everybody's brand is going to be the same.
Mm.
There's some people I know who maybe kind of their aesthetic is like the soft pastel, like fluffy, and a lot of times their voice kind of reflects that. Like if they have this cute, soft little voice and play like a lot of those kind of characters, then yeah, you want like, the cute little like clouds and like plushies and I don't know, just like all the fun stuff like that. But I don't know, there's just like it's kind of like about what speaks to you, I think. So like whatever your favorite, like start with your favorite color and go from there. Mine is pink, obviously. So
Of course. So I was gonna like you kind of answered most of my questions, so I have no idea how to like segue this properly, but I'll ask anyway. So I feel like you're kind of the queen. Maybe that might be an exaggeration to say the queen of manifestation. So this might require a little bit of rewording on my part, but according to the wiki that I was reading through just to make sure, you did an earlier version of Trucy Wright in Phoenix Wright, and then earlier before you became the role of Trucy Wright. Is that correct?
Sort of. So I was really, really into Ace Attorney back in the day. Like I played all the games and stuff, and my friends and I would like dress up as the characters, and we would like do these dumb like cosplay skits or like like parodies and things like that. And usually I was always Maya Fey. Like that was the one that I kind of gravitated towards at the time. But I would just I would voice like in the parodies like a lot of just whoever was like one of the main female characters in that particular game. So obviously when we did Apollo Justice, then I did Trucy.
Mm. And then afterwards, I know you've been wanting to be JOLYNE Joestar. We know you ended up becoming JOLYNE Joestar, but that sort of the amount of training that probably went into manifesting that point to get to that point where because you were in part 4, I believe, right? Sorry, Diamond is Unbreakable. before. So you're already in the JoJo series, which for a lot of people would have just been, that's it. Like, that's as far as I'm getting. But
But
you
even
went one
then, I
step
was just
further.
like, okay, as long as this doesn't, preclude me from getting JOLYNE or auditioning for JOLYNE in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, like, what's it like being JOLYNE? I want to understand that sort of elation that you have for being JOLYNE. Because, yes, I know JOLYNE's your favorite character. I get that. I want to have a bit of a better understanding of why you loved JOLYNE specifically. Because the character has been around since like the 80s. And from when we're watching it as an anime standpoint, as viewers later down the line, this only got released like a couple of years ago. So I feel
Yeah,
like
I
there
mean, I
needs to be.
think in all fairness, like JoJo has been around since 87, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes.
JoJo's literally as old as me. But Stone Ocean, because that was part 6, I think that came out in like 2001, if I'm not mistaken. So the character was around for a while, but not like quite as long as the whole series.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was really, it just came down to like, I became super, super into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure when I was introduced to it and started like watching and reading it. And then, when I found out like, oh, there's a female Joestar eventually, it was just kind of like, oh man, I hope that, I'd love to work on this someday. But obviously in JoJo's, it's like very, very heavy with like male characters and like buff male characters. So it's not something I could voice. I can voice like young guy, like like prepubescent or whatever, but like obviously I can't voice like grown men. So the fact that there was going to be a female JoJo eventually, I was just really excited for that. And then when I read Stone Ocean, I was like, this is such a cool and like powerful character.
I'm going to pivot this a little bit. The differences of processes. Obviously, you've been in the VA game for such a long time that I would want. So obviously, there's different incarnations of what VAing is in time, especially around the 2000s, especially with Team 4-Star, with stuff like Death Battle and a few other productions that now is prolific. How do you feel things are different between when you worked on those projects way back when versus how you deal with projects now? Like when you started, everything had to be a bit more guerrilla.
I think there's a few differences, obviously, from how things were 10, 15, even 20 years ago on the internet in terms of people who want to do voice acting. And there's kind of like 2 really big differences that I think affect things. And the first one is that it's so much more competitive now. When I first started doing this, back in the mid 2000s, just for fun, like as a hobby thing, it was very, there were like online forums back when like web forums were really a thing. There would be like forums for amateur voice acting, people who just wanted to do this stuff as a hobby, like, none of us, a couple people were like, oh, I did a commercial once or something. But, most people, it was like, we were all just wanting to do this, but none of us had really been paid for voice acting in most cases. Like we just wanted like experience, I don't know, like that kind of stuff. And so people would just do projects for fun. And I also kind of discovered like the Flash animation community at the time because people in my anime club in high school would always like watch Flash animations or whatever. And a lot of times back then, because now it's like if somebody was making a project and they wanted voice actors, like all they'd have to do is post it on social media. They'll get like 1,000 demo reels in the comments. But back then it was like there weren't so many people specifically wanting to do this and who were able to record from home, although the bar was like much lower back then for recording from home because the audio was like so and like no one was getting paid for any of this stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. So it was like obviously you didn't have to have like a crazy kind of, now even for just like online projects, people want like a fancy like setup or sound treatment, and it just wasn't like that at all back in the day, thank goodness, because none of us could afford anything like that. We were all just doing this for fun. But I don't know, like I could just message different animators or creators that I wanted to work with. Some of the really big ones I wasn't able to ever like get a hold of them or whatever. But, for the most part, because so many people back then either just, if they had voices, they just did the voices themselves. They got their friends or family members to do it who like maybe didn't really want to do it. Or sometimes they would get like the really old-fashioned text-to-speech voices and stuff like that. So there weren't like a whole lot of people in that particular community who specialized in voice acting, and that's what I did. So just because it was kind of like something that there wasn't a huge market for, I feel like I got really lucky at the time in that a lot of people were like, okay, sure, like I don't have anyone to voice the female characters, or like, oh, I made my sister do it and she didn't want to do it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but now it's just so much harder. And one of the things that I think contributed maybe to how competitive it is, and this is a double-edged sword, content creation is often monetized now, which is great. Like, I'm all for creative people being able to get compensated for their work. Like, of course they should be able to, and especially because everything's the internet now. It's like people used to watch way more like TV and stuff like that, but now people go, especially I feel like the younger generation, they go on YouTube, they go on TikTok, they go on social media and they watch the content that they want to watch. So like, of course, like people should be able to monetize all those views coming in from their projects. But there wasn't really the structure for that back when, like, say YouTube was just getting started, and even a little bit before that, and that was all kind of being figured out. So all these like projects, it was mostly just people collaborating with each other. Some of the really big animators and stuff, maybe they'd have like merch of like their characters that they made for their online series, and they would be able to make money that way. But like, especially for doing voices and stuff, it was like we were all just doing this for fun. It wasn't like nowadays there's so much emphasis on, oh, it's got to be your career, like rates and payment and contract, and those things are all really good. Like I'm part of a community that helps educate people on things like rates. So, again, nothing wrong with that. It just adds a layer of complication, because especially for like maybe people who are high school or college students, like I was when I was first starting, you don't know how to run a business. Like some people do, but the majority of people, I would say, are like, they want to voice act, but it's like they don't know how to make it into like this whole like a business, basically. So I don't know, I felt like I kind of had it a little bit easier back then in some sense. Like there wasn't as many resources for how to do voice acting and all this kind of stuff, but we could just play around and find out, and like it was okay in a sense if you like made mistakes, because you were just doing stuff for fun on the internet.
It sounds more like way back when there was a lot more room and openness to experimentation. And based on my experiences growing up with it, is part of the heart of it was kind of the imperfection of a lot of it compared to commercial.
Yeah.
But like you said, is like, as I've grown up, like one of the series that I watched way back when that started around that time and it's still going, is Death Battle, and you can see the main differences between their production back then versus their production now. That I think they're having to go back and actually just remake a lot of their old stuff just because that it's more in line with their current things.
Interesting. And even for VO, like I've just seen the standards evolve so much, because it used to be, the audio for a lot of online stuff, it did have to be crunched down a little bit because people's internet connections back then, they couldn't handle like downloading this huge file or, loading it into a player or whatever. And now it's kind of like the sky's the limit. So everything's super high definition in terms of visuals and audio. And because audio also has to be high definition for the most part, I feel like the bar is just so high for people who want to start doing this, because it's like, and there are absolutely people who do it, don't get me wrong, where they get really, really creative on a budget. But I feel like it's so much harder to get anywhere if people can't afford, some kind of proper recording setup. Obviously when you get into doing professional stuff, anime games, whatever, you physically go to the studio and record. But like, if you want to do even like indie projects or something like that, a lot of that stuff records from home. So you need to have like a proper home setup. and that can get expensive. I mean, I was lucky I bought a booth before the pandemic, but I still had to, when we had like 2 years of recording from home, I still had to upgrade my stuff. And I thought before, like, oh, I'm a pro at recording from home because I do all this indie stuff. And, a lot of like other people in my industry didn't. So they weren't used to having to record at home. But now it's like, I think it's harder. It's more expensive. That being said, I always tell people, like, even if you have $0, you can just practice. You can record yourself on your phone, just like reading your favorite manga or like, a game that was only in text. Like, you can always like practice and learn and watch free videos and read free resources.
I can pivot this into two sides now because I do something very similar playing the Yakuza games. Because a lot of that is text-based, and I normally listen to it in Japanese, but I'll try to add my own voices to the text stuff as well. So on the one side, I know you Twitch stream, and then the other side of it, the other one was about internet and fighting games. Which would you like me to ask you about first, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe Twitch stream would be fun because, like, I'm trying to get that off the ground. It's been difficult.
Okay. So this is interesting to hear about. So you've joined the Twitch community. Welcome, by the way. Welcome to the Twitch community.
It's been like 3 years now, so I'm like I guess not like a baby streamer, but like an intermediate streamer.
No, I mean, I've been doing it. I feel like I've been doing it far longer than you, and in a lot of ways, I still feel like I'm just getting started. So. After the 3 years you've been joining in, what am I okay to mention that you're a VTuber, just to make sure?
Yeah, of course. I'm like, it's the only way that I can even like get people to watch my channel, which is, I feel bad doing, like, my very first stream was like, hey, I'm the voice actor for Kuki Shinobu, watch me pull for Kuki Shinobu. But it's almost like you have to do that because otherwise everyone in the world is trying to be a VTuber right now. And it's so hard to get any traction to your channel. I mean, I still... even like 3 years, and granted, if I was able to stream more consistently, it's hard because I travel all the time, but if I were able to stream more consistently, I'm sure it would help. But, I get an average of like 20 viewers each stream, like, which is fine. Like, I appreciate it. Like, I love my community. They're super, and I am big on quality over quantity. But, just showing people that if 3 years in, even somebody with like a pre-existing platform for adjacent stuff is only able to get those kind of numbers, that it is very difficult.
I guess that makes it for an interesting talking point. Like, you've been known for more being on the YouTube platform for the longest time. Hopefully that's okay for me to say. If you want me to cut that, I'll cut that. But...
Well, it's actually funny because it's like I am not really on YouTube myself, but I voice acted for like other creators on that platform. But I didn't really start like streaming or like, doing my own stuff in that regard until I got on Twitch.
So how did you come up with the cowtuber personality? Like, if you don't mind me, I like to design stuff. I designed stuff back in the day, and I do a lot of pixel art. So what I would want to know is, what would the inspiration for why specifically the cow? Because everyone picks, usually it's a dragon, a cat, a rabbit from time to time, a fox, but I've not heard one about a cow. So this is the first one I've heard about a cowtuber. And secondly, why specifically the design style you went with? Because there's obviously 2D, 3D, there's a high amount of animation, a high amount of movement, full body, half body, that kind of, those kind of questions that I feel like not many people ask about because it's not something that you would normally ask about.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my favorite animals are cows and cats. Cat VTubers, and this is no offense at all to anyone who's a cat VTuber, but it's like very, very, like, there's a lot of people who are already doing that, and it's hard to kind of have your own unique thing, I guess, with that. And I became more and more obsessed with cows actually because of one of my cats. This cow cat adopted us, and I would like kind of, like use like cow terminology with him, and I ended up like watching cow videos and learning more about cows, and I just thought they were so cute. And people like don't fully realize how cute cows are
Yeah.
until they start following cow accounts on Instagram and things like that. There actually are like more cow tubers than you'd expect. I'm part of a Twitch team called Moo Moo Milk, and I
Uh-huh.
think there's about like 50 of us so far, mostly cows, a few bulls, some mythical bovine creatures, I think. But yeah, basically I loved cows, and it made sense to be a cow. And the reason her name's Josie is because I wanted her to be like a stand user.
Mm.
So her full name is Josie Joanna McFly, so that she can be a JoJo. And then and she's got like her own stand and everything. And the fun thing about being a VTuber is you can make your backstory as ridiculous as you want. So it's like, yeah, she's a time traveling cow from outer space. Why not? And she has like a stand that's fueled by coffee, which is what allows her to time travel. And then as far as like 2D versus 3D, it was purely cost, not gonna lie, because getting like a live 2D model is thousands of dollars, and I can't really budget for that as somebody who streams as a hobby and doesn't get big numbers. Like it wouldn't be financially smart. Someday I would love to do that, but 3D models, on the other hand, can be very, very affordable because you can use it was like a Vroid model, and so there's a lot of like pre-made assets that you can buy, so you don't have to like say like hire somebody to rig all your animations specifically. You can like you can kind of buy like clothing parts, you can buy like different things, and then you can like customize those assets. And it's just like, usually the term is like you just have to have a thing where you like credit each part of it that you got or whatever. And so it's like just really, really affordable compared to having a whole model custom designed and rigged for you from the ground up. And my friend Ed, who was already doing like 3D VTubing, he's one of my stream mods, he was just like super instrumental in putting all that together for me.
You've been part of the stream team, like you said earlier. Have you met any of them in real life as of yet?
I have not. It would be really cool. A lot of the cow tubers on the team, because a lot of VTubers in general are kind of secretive about their real identity. I kind of felt like in my case that I couldn't really be if I wanted to grow my brand more and stuff like that. But I don't know. It would be cool to have some kind of cow meetup, but I think we're just from all over the world, so it'd be hard.
Some VTubers do they do collaborations, but they just use their VTube models in one stream. That might be a way of going about it if that is something. I don't know if you've thought about it. Or
I've done it a couple times because it's highly encouraged on our team to collab with others.
Collab.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, so it's pretty much just like there's like a software site that can do it or something. You just kind of like the other person can import their model and then you like add it in OBS. It's like a little bit complicated at first, but I've done it a couple times.
What kind of drew you to Twitch streaming then? Because I know the pandemic is one, a lot of people came in from around that time, but was there anything that specifically got you started in there? Was there any VTuber that inspired you specifically?
So I decided to start streaming when my character got released in Genshin Impact.
Okay.
Because I had kind of thought about streaming different times, especially like you said, during the pandemic. Like I played a lot of Animal Crossing, as did most people, and I was like, oh, maybe I should stream Animal Crossing. But I didn't have like, it would have been a lot of like equipment to buy. It's a lot of like upfront investment to do it. And with Genshin, my roommate, who's also a voice actor and streamer, was like, oh, you can just, there's a feature on it was like, I was playing it on my PS4 at the time. It was before the PS5 came out, and they were like, yeah, you can just stream like directly from the PS4 and it'll show the chat on the screen. Like you don't have to buy anything else or like do whatever. So my first streams were like so janky because it wasn't even, it was just like the built-in stream on PlayStation thing.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to try it out because I was like, well, this might go horribly. I always thought part of the reason I didn't stream or start streaming for so many years is because I always thought, oh, you have to have a specific personality to stream. You have to be like funny and outgoing and all this kind of stuff. But then I realized like, no, there's an audience for chill streamers. There's an audience for like about everything, it's just sort of like a matter of finding that kind of community that vibes with what you're doing or whatever. And so my very first stream was like Kuki Shinobu's voice actor pulls for Kuki Shinobu in the Gacha band, and so it went pretty well, despite being very, very bare bones in terms of tech. This was way before I had a VTuber model or anything, so it was literally just like my game screen and then the chat on the side. But then I decided to do like a couple more streams of just like playing Genshin and, having chat, hop in and do co-op. And then slowly over time, I was able to upgrade my setup a little bit more, get like a capture card, make like a layout, which I still just always trying to figure out how to do that kind of stuff.
It takes a little bit of time. I mean, I'm still struggling to make a new one for myself. So I stream all the time. I was just streaming before I came on. And one problem I have is I have one brand and I really like it, so I'm not changing it. And it's been 5 years. It's like, Faz, please. It's like, nope, it's staying because I like it.
Well,
and that's all it
consistency is good. And yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of you can find little things to upgrade here and there, or, whatever. I've certainly done that, but there's a lot that I don't know. At some point I even have to look into something as simple as how to get like a custom sound for your alerts, because having the sound of a cow mooing would be cute or whatever.
It would be. That would sound awesome, honestly. You can make it also, you can make it as, like you said, you can make it as ridiculous as you want it to be as well with VTubing.
Like probably just if somebody subs or cheers or something so that it's not like going off constantly, but...
My question then ends up being is you've now got two personalities you're trying to do with VTubing. You've got the VTuber personality and obviously you've got the VA personality. Is there really that much of a difference between the two? Would you rather keep them separate or would you rather they are intertwined in some way?
I think it's fine. It's different for everyone, like what their needs are and stuff like that. For me, it's fine to kind of have them be intertwined because it just lets me kind of promote, like if I meet people at cons who are like, oh, I play Hoyoverse games or whatever, just to be like, oh, I stream those, here's my business card for my stream or something like that. And just kind of like you have to sometimes in order to get any sort of opportunities to be able to like promote that kind of stuff on your bigger platform occasionally or, whatever. But I don't know. It's the way that, kind of the separation that I do have is that in my Twitch community, I usually say like, this isn't really the place to kind of like ask for voice acting advice for the most part, because I run, like I help admin an entire community and Discord server called the Voice Acting Club, where that is all we do. And I've, like written like all these articles and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, especially on like the Discord server for my Twitch channel, I'm just like, I don't want it to just turn into that because there is already a place where you can ask like lots of people and not just my perspective on things. And, everyone's like done a really good job respecting that so far.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's awesome that the community has been so willing to oblige to that. And I hope that continues regardless. I hope it even gets even bigger and more people join the community.
I hope so.
Hopefully you'll see me there too from time to time. I'm going to take it back a little bit to a little bit of voice acting stuff, but just some minor things, really. You're in Grand Blue, Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, Tekken, Skullgirls, Soul Calibur, Dead or Alive, and BlazBlue. Is there any other fighting game you want to take over?
Well, Guilty Gear was always the one that I would answer for that because that's the one that I wanted to be in so bad. I guess if Melty Blood ever got an English dub, I would love to be Akiha. I would love to be Athena in King of Fighters.
Oh, King of Fighters! I forgot about. Honestly, that had a new one coming out. A new one came out fairly recently. Did you get a chance to play it?
No, not yet.
Ooh, well, I hope you enjoy it. It for some reason has Ronaldo. It was still weird for me to even think of it that way. But really, we kind of covered everything that I would have liked to have covered. So I have two community questions that wanted to be asked. I've got one from Darkspine Josh. Would love to know your thoughts on playing Lyria and what you like most about that character in Granblue.
Yeah, I just think Lyria is such a fun and supportive and sweet character. She's really just doing her best a lot of the time. And I don't know, like the character's design is also so pretty and appealed to me the moment I auditioned for her, to be honest. Plus, I also love that Gran is voiced by Kyle McCarley, so it was like 2B and 9S voice actors.
The more you guys can't stay away, effectively, you're destined to at some point be next to each other. And the other one I have is from Casual Rabbit, and I think Kidora Rara as well, who you met at MegaCon. They asked for a autograph. They just wanted to ask, you were wearing a Green Day t-shirt. Was wondering if you were a fan.
Absolutely. I've been a fan since I was 16 of them, and my Jojo stand that I've made for myself is actually called Insomniac, which is obviously a reference to their album called Insomniac.
Is that what's your favorite song from Green Day? If you don't mind me asking.
I mean, traditionally I always said Basket Case. I know that's a very like, like, oh, everybody. Well, I guess everyone used to say that, but now that's considered like a really old album, which is weird. When I first got into Green Day, it was kind of like, oh, if your favorite song is from Dookie, then you're unoriginal, or whatever. So silly.
Yeah.
But now that's considered like one of their earlier albums. Gosh, I mean, I also love 2000 Light Years Away, if we want something that's like maybe a little bit more obscure. Stewart and the Avenue from Insomniac. There's just so many.
All right. And there's loads of stuff we didn't get to cover today. Like, for example, the fact you're in Gundam. So many like Miraculous Ladybug. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to shout at me for that one. Or we didn't even touch on anything to do with 2B for the most part.
That's okay, because like a lot of other people have. So it's kind of nice, like getting to talk about something different.
Or the fact that you're in Detective Pikachu, you're in so many franchises, and Yokai Watch, can't forget Jibanyan. But as the last question I always like to ask voice actors is, what do you think is the most important thing about trying to get into voice acting in 2025? I know this is a common question you normally have on your website already answered. So instead of asking your first most important thing, what's the second most important thing?
Oh, second, because I was gonna say the first one is acting. Like that should be everybody's answer. Is yeah, obviously like the most important thing is acting. I guess another really important thing is going to be community, because that can encompass a lot of different things. Community, like it's important to have a place where you can, have like peers or mentors that you can ask for opinions on things, because like one, there's a ton of scams going around these days. Like it's so bad. We had to have an entire channel on the Discord dedicated to just VO scams because of how bad it's gotten. And there are a lot of instances where people, even who might normally consider themselves pretty savvy about this stuff, where they get taken in by a scam or like almost get taken in by a scam. There's so much with all the AI stuff that people need to be aware of, just, how to protect themselves. Like there's just like a lot, it's not as simple anymore, because there are like people can find themselves into bad situations in a number of ways. So I would say like, obviously, yeah, first most important thing is acting and like acting skill. But I think the second most important thing, or one of them, is just being able to have other people that you can learn from and ask questions to and bounce ideas off of. And that's something that I try to like make sure the voice acting club is that kind of place. But it doesn't have to be that. Like you can, if joining like a Facebook group is more your thing, there's a few that are pretty decent in there. Or even just like a real life meetup group, or like whatever, however that looks for you, to just make sure that you're not alone in terms of like, hey, I don't know if this thing is legit, or is this fair, whatever.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I know we went on a little bit long. I do apologize.
That's all
Um,
right. It tends to happen. So,
where can people find you should they want to find you?
um, I'm not super active on social media these days, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just go to my website, you should be able to find like any of that stuff, as well as my Twitch channel, Miss Iggy Stardust.
Okay. And thank you everybody for listening for this whole thing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there is any questions you think I've missed, please put them in the comments. But until next time, you can find me on all of my socials in the description, as well as Kira Buckland's website. But until then, stay safe, drink some water, and as always, and remember, you guys are very wonderful and happy Fast Day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.